Okay, so today we're going to start cutting our one length. We're going to start with a profile part down the center of the head. And then we're going to do 2 diagonal forwards right at the occipital to about mid-ear. If someone's hair is extra thick, then we want to go a little lower. But for the most part, we can stop right at the occipital. Don't go too high. The diagonal forward is going to be pretty flat. And then I want you to comb this hair straight forward. So when we continue with the next haircut, it's going to be very easy to part. Most of the time, you're going to cut most people 0 standing up because the chair will get in the way and cause elevation. And if their hair's long, it's just hard to get the right 0 angle. So comb this straight forward like you're going parallel to the floor. Okay, another thing you want to do when you're cutting a 0 is get the closure of the cape away, because it will kind of create some bulk or grab the hair. And if the cape is bulky or bunching up, then I like to kind of pin it over just to get a flat working surface. So we're going to tilt the client's hair, the head slightly forward. If we don't tilt it forward to cut her hair, when we do that, it gives a slight undercut, so that when her head comes back up, she doesn't have straggles hanging from the bottom. So always tilt their head slightly forward, and that will create a natural undercut. So then I have to decide. Most of the time, people don't realize she probably has no clue her hair is really this long. Because once it gets behind your shoulders, past your mid-shoulder length, you don't really realize how long your hair is. So a lot of times I will say, oh, I'm going to cut an inch off. I'm going to say, how does this length feel about right here? She's like, okay, but she told me she wanted an inch off, but what is she really getting off? About 3 or 4. Because she needs that, and it's just getting so long that she doesn't even realize it. Or if their hair's really stringy on the bottom, and all that shrinks up, they think their hair's that short anyway, because it shrinks to that length. So we're going to go in here and cut her a good length here. So I'm going to start in the middle, and when I'm doing a human client, most of the time I'm going to cut straight to the body. And I'd probably stand in front of them a little more if I wasn't videoing. So I want to double check. Let me get around here just to even this up. Because we want the guide even before we start. Okay, so I have my first cut line. So with this hair being combed straight forward, the next parting we take is a horseshoe. So you see how easily I can go through and part that off. And I don't want to twist this a lot. Just kind of twist it once and bring that back. But if I take this and wad it up in a little bun on the side of her head, then it's going to make my haircut go a lot slower. So all this hair is going to be directed straight down, natural fall. When we get to the ear, we're going to over direct it behind the shoulder. And this is going to give us the length around the front. So when we go in and do our face frame, that we're not coming in and clipping off the corner. So the hair looks really short in the front and long in the back. Okay, so I can come in here and hold this down with my comb. I can hold it down with my hand. A couple different ways to get this flat to the back. You want to stand right in front of where you're cutting. So normally I'd be right down here cutting her hair. So I'm going to take my next horseshoe. Depending on the thickness of the hair, you can go up about an inch. If her hair is overly thick, then I may go a half inch at a time. Be sure it's combed really smooth and the head stays in the same position. When I'm working on a client, a lot of times I'll come here and feel her head shape. And that way I know if she's doing this or turning it. And especially even on a lot of younger clients, children, it's hard to keep their head in the same shape. So I'll put my hands right here and touch their head, and I can feel if they're looking down straight. So it's just like a little trick I do if I don't have a mirror in front of me. So as I go up, I'm not having much to cut because she does have previous layers. But if her hair was all one length, then you'd be seeing that. Okay, so since that had hardly any left on it, then I can drop the rest of this. Once you get to a section where there's minimal to cut, whatever's left, go ahead and drop it down because most likely nothing will hang down past the cut line. So we'll just double check. When you bring this last section back, be sure this part doesn't stay in there. Comb that straight down at natural fall. Be sure their head's tilted down. I'm going to go through and double check. See if there's anything hanging over. Just clean up that line a little bit. Pull this hair back, see how this doesn't reach. So that's part of her face frame. We'll cut here in a few minutes. If someone wanted a different shape besides straight across, you still would go through the same technique. It's just you would take your cut line from being square into being a convex shape, or if you want more rounded V shape. So you just have to set your line, and you can still go through the same cutting sectioning. Okay? The 0, 1 length haircut.